Can you type out your answers?
Okay.
Your answer to this question.
Okay.
I answered it in person, but
Sure.
you know more about this.
Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Corey Berg, and I am the director of Hilltop Child Development Center, and I'm happy to be with you today. I have brought with me Mike Heaton, who is our interim finance director, who I will bring up here for a few of our presentation slides. So the mission of Hilltop is to create an inclusive community where children learn and where we have passionate early childhood professionals who are providing a very caring and educationally sound environment. We have been here since 1972. We were created out of a need in the University of Kansas community for quality care and education for children of KU students, faculty, and staff. We have grown in that time in a number of ways over the years, from only 3 classrooms of 50 children all the way to where we are now, to 2 sites that are licensed total for a capacity of 450 children. And we serve infants through 5-year-olds year-round, as well as we provide after-school and summer programming for grade school students. I have an infant photo here because providing infant care is a very important piece in the Lawrence community. It is a piece of childcare that's has a great need. So not all child care centers provide that. So we can be proud of that work that we do. So our student employees are a very important part of our overall organization. We have 34 student aides, and they make up 47% of our teaching staff. And we support our KU student aides by, the student aides support our work with children by providing really important coverage in classrooms in order for our teachers to take lunch breaks and to cover when they have vacation days and absences. They also help us meet our teacher-child ratios, and that is actually the number one factor in providing quality programming for children, is the number of teachers that you have in a room. And then in return, we support KU students by providing a really flexible work schedule around classes. So we have students that might show up for an hour-and-a-half shift, or a 2-hour shift, or a full day shift. So we have a lot of opportunities for students to get a little bit of work in during their week. We also give some students choose to work over some of the KU holiday breaks. And a really important piece here that I'd like to highlight is the valuable work experience that we give students with children. If anybody in the room is working on an education degree or any kind of wanting to go into work with children, you usually have to have a certain number of clock hours with children to get licensed for different things. And this means a lot to me because I actually was one of those student aides, not at KU, but a long, long time ago. I was studying something else, and I had a student job working in a child care center, and it changed the course of my life, my experience that I had, and I ended up shifting my degree, and here I am today. So it can really have an impact on a student's life. And then our KU student families. So providing childcare is really important for students who have children. There are times in a person's life that can be some of the most stressful times. When you're being a student is one, and then also when you have young children in your home. It's a financial stress, and you also want to make sure that your children are well cared for while you work, or while you're going to school. So this is a really important piece in being able to have different kinds of students who can be here at KU. They need childcare in order to come. So we currently serve 52 children who have at least one parent who is a KU student. That could be an undergraduate student, or it could be a graduate level student. We have younger parents, we have older parents, so it's very diverse. And so some of the ways that we support our KU student families is KU student families actually get priority placement above everyone else in Hilltop. We charge a lower student tuition rate, and we'll go into that in a few minutes. And then one thing that is also very unique in childcare is that we provide options to not pay tuition when KU is not in session. So if there are folks who are taking their children to other centers in Lawrence, they likely are still going to have to pay tuition regardless of, whether they're in school or not. So all right, so I'm going to call Mike up here in just a minute after we go through this, but I wanted to kind of go through to help you see our tuition and how it works. So we have our regular monthly tuition. That's on the far left side. I just want you to look at those numbers. And if you can think of your average person and their take-home pay, if they have 1 to 2 children, well, a lot of their paycheck goes towards tuition. And then we have this second layer of discount for families who qualify for lower income adjustment. And then look at our KU student Hilltop tuition. We do not have that for infant rooms. The reason is in infant rooms, there's only 9 children in that room for 3 teachers. And so it's just, those rooms are very hard to offer discounts on. So this next column, the Pell Grant eligible tuition, this is a separate opportunity for KU students. The C Campus grant, they can apply to be part of that and get no cost childcare. So we do have a number of KU students on that. And then over here, you can see what the actual student discount is for those ages. So toddler rooms, it's a difference of $422 a month for that child, up to or down to $376 for a pre-K level child. So that is very significant for families. And then it's also quite significant for a childcare center that we're trying to really provide the best equipment, pay our teachers well. So that money has to come from somewhere. We, as Hilltop, offer a lot of different financial assistance offerings. Besides just the KU student discount and the family income level discount. We offer Department of Children and Family subsidies. So parents, if they meet a certain income level, can apply for a subsidy there. If a parent is a veteran, they can get a subsidy through that, and then also the C Campus subsidy. But these KU student discounts, these family income level discounts, those are ones that we do not get any other kind of tuition or reimbursement from any other outside sources. So the work that we're doing here today is quite important to us. All right, so now I'm going to ask Mike to come up and just give you a little glance over at our budget.
All right, thank you, Corey. So this is the budget we're operating under the current fiscal year. So about almost 5.3 million in revenues. Our expenses, unfortunately, are exceeding that, about 5.8. So one of the reasons Jason Hornberger, Vice Provost of Finance, brought me in is to help on an interim basis look at our financial situation and look at ways that we can improve that. As far as the student fees we receive, so it is about 3% of our overall revenue, about $160,000, and that is every dollar is critical. Those fees specifically help us with the KU student employee salaries that Corey's mentioned, as well as the tuition reduction that we offer KU students with children at Hilltop, and then, of course, maintenance of our facilities at Hilltop. So our ask for fiscal 27 is really to remain flat. Currently, we receive $3.70 in student fees, and request that we remain at that level. That helps us with all the benefits that we provide the KU students.
All right. So we are definitely in a time of transition at Hilltop. I have been the executive director there since June, and we have a number of new leaders between our two sites. So at our main campus location, there's a new site director, a new assistant director, and at our west location, we have a new site director. And so with that comes a lot of new experience into the Hilltop organization that we bring out of our own collective professional experience. So we're bringing new safety systems and ways of addressing licensing standards. We have very rich experience in developmentally appropriate and academically rich curriculum with nonprofit management, parent partnerships, and then also a lot with employee coaching and training. And in this time, just since June, we have written and trained all employees, including student aides, in some key aspects, including new allergy and transportation protocols, Kansas licensing standards, and child supervision strategies. And we've also rewritten all of our onboarding training to provide better information to support our new employees. And so ways that we have improved the student work experience. This year, we have provided all of our student employees the required KDHE core trainings. And this is important because when somebody comes to work in childcare, they may have the idea that, I just love to work with kids and I'd like to have some moments spending time with them. But there are quite a lot of safety things and things related to child management of children in the classroom and educational things. So we really want to make sure that we're giving good support to our student aides as much as we would any other person who works with children. Another thing that we have done this year is that we have included all of our student employees in staff meetings. Prior to that, they weren't part of those meetings. And we've also offered some more friendly weekend options if they're not able to come on a Monday night for that. That way, they're allowed to have input in our overall activities that we do at Hilltop and be able to ask questions and give us feedback. We've implemented some initiatives to build relationships with student aides and families. So we now have a digital newsletter, and we have new name tags in our digital newsletter. We highlight student aides each month, so it's a way for parents to connect and get to know the aides. We have different kinds of photos in the classroom, so parents, when they're picking up their child, they can actually know the teacher's student aide's name, and that really helps build relationships. And then we've also worked to create some new, just kind of fun activities to help student aides feel that we really are grateful for the work that they do. We had some things in December with parents giving little individualized goodie bags to our student aides, and I know they meant a lot. And in the coming year or years, some of my goals that I'd really like to work on with Hilltop is really increasing our student wages. The work they do is so pivotal, and so I would like to be able to increase that. And then we're also working on building out our employee onboarding. So each KU student will have a classroom teacher who becomes their mentor. And again, that helps build relationships and can provide a lot of support. With our student families, we have, this is actually with all of our families, but it has impacted our student families as well. We've started a Hilltop Family Association, and this is a way for our families to become more involved, but a way for them also to give feedback about their experience at Hilltop. We have introduced monthly community events so that we can provide greater opportunity for families to connect with each other and also the things that are happening and what their kids are learning about. We've introduced that monthly digital newsletter. That may not seem like a big thing, but communication is everything. And one of the things that we'd like to do is to find ways to increase student families' connection with each other, to provide better peer support, and so possibly have some student family meetups and ways that they can connect and support their own specific unique needs as KU student families. So, just in summary, with your financial support, we'll be able to continue offering that priority enrollment for the children of KU students. Without that, that might not be the option that we're able to go with going forward. We're able to continue offering our KU student families a significantly reduced tuition rate. We're able to continue offering our very flexible KU student employment jobs. We can work towards raising our KU student staff wages and also continue to include these additional paid training opportunities and mentorship for KU student employees. And all that training does cost dollars because we pay our employees to be trained. So thank you very much, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, so what questions do we have for our speakers? And remember to introduce yourself if it's your first time speaking. Let's start with Esperanza and then Henry.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Good afternoon. Thank you for presenting your work at Hilltop. I'm Esperanza Monteiro, upperclassman senator, university, and student senator. And since you're a proud member of the Hilltop Child Development Center, I would like your personal opinion regarding the current state investigation confirming child abuse cases at KU-affiliated Hilltop centers.
Sure. They are actually, so you said current.
Yes, the state investigation that happened in August. Thank you. The state investigation that happened in late August regarding confirmed child abuse cases in your facilities.
Okay. In August, we've had. This is what I'm going to say, and you should also know kind of the timeline on how things work. So sometimes investigations happen several months after something has actually occurred. We had some things last spring before I arrived. And then as I have come, there have been some other things related to risk and children at risk. One thing that's important to me is that those things do get reported. And it's an important part of the process for a team, a school, and an administration to really dig in and look at all the layers that may impact children's safety. So I'm not able to comment in any specific, but what I can say is that you have a team of professionals who care very deeply about the day-to-day experience of children. And I think you probably heard in those slides a lot about training. It comes down to training. So when things happen in centers, it may be that there's a lack of protocols, a lack of oversight, or it can be that there are teachers that might not feel supported. So those are pieces that we really work hard at. We've gone over things like our ways of guiding children's discipline, how we handle when a situation arises. So that is very important work that we're doing right now.
Thank you. Henry, if you have a question.
I do. So you mentioned training being an an important part of how you approach your day-to-day time at the daycare. I'm curious, kind of on the back end of that, what you do about the hiring process, like background check, stuff like that, and how much effort goes into it.
Okay, yeah. So some of these things are state required. Okay, so all employees, anyone who works with children, there are different layers based on how much. Are they a supervised person? Are they left alone with children? The kind of layers of the background check that we do. So we follow all of the state guidelines. We also call references. Each new employee also is in a probationary period. That's really important. So if we see in that probationary period that this is someone that, wow, their interview doesn't quite match up with what we see from day to day, that might be something that either they are provided new support, or maybe it is that we see we're not a match. So all of that is part of that hiring process. And then once they have accepted a position, this has been one of the number one things that we have put a lot of work into, is that onboarding process and offering a lot more training in many different areas so they're ready to go when they go in the classroom.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Hi, my name is Tanya Singh, and I am the Secretary of the Finance Council. While I can appreciate that you are not allowed to legally comment on ongoing investigations, I would like to ask, what mitigation or training measures has Hilltop implemented specifically to promote child safety or reduce incidents of child mistreatment since you have since your tenure there, and especially because you stated there were incidents that occurred after you started there?
Okay, sure. So first, everyone has received proper training in mandatory reporting. That's a really important piece. Anytime you're working with children who are vulnerable, who can't speak up for themselves, who are birth to 5 years old. So that's an important piece. We have provided supervision training. They have received supervision training from Hilltop. They have received 2 additional supervision trainings from 2 different outside sources in Kansas. They have received all employees at both sites have received a behavior management and guidance training. And then as part of that, this is newer, actually within the last month, that we have worked on building out a coaching program for staff who might need some help in how to manage a classroom. And we've built a curriculum over 8 weeks that we can use to support a new teacher who might be struggling in how to handle challenging behaviors and things like that.
We will go to Robert next. Just make sure, oh, sorry about the mic. Make sure we're not asking anything that has already been covered in the presentation or by the speaker, just for the sake of time.
Hi, Robert, Community Affairs Representative here. Last year you talked about having anticipated 105 student employees in the fall, 61 actual in the spring. That number's dropped down to 34. If you could give us any further explanation on how much student employees were cut.
Well, we've had somewhat of a drop in enrollment. And so we have not let go of any student employees, but it has been that we have less that we have hired, and we're much more structured now in how we schedule our student employees. So we have a very specific system for scheduling. So we match up where a student might have a need or have an opening, and it matches up with where we directly need students to cover these key areas during the day. So there has been a shift in that. And some of that is necessary to provide that real individualized experience and greater support for our student employees.
Thank you.
Yes.
I think the number you used in your slideshow was 52 children with 1 or 2 KU parents. Can you just like extrapolate on that? Is that like how much below the norm? What does it look like in years prior?
I don't know that
Okay.
information from years prior. I know what we have now, and just that they're very diverse is what I can say in terms of what kinds of KU students they are. So it does meet different kinds of needs in that community.
Okay, thank you.
I think we have a question on the back with Omounmi.
Okay, thank you so much for your presentation. My name is Omomi, representing GSAP. I just wanted to confirm, what is the mandatory reporting process like?
I'm
For
sorry,
your
could you
center.
repeat the question?
What is the mandatory reporting process like for your center?
Okay, so I'll give a little 1-minute training here. In the state of Kansas, and it's important for anyone who works with children to know this, that we are required to report when we have any suspected suspicion that a child is being mistreated, that we are required to report. And then when you are working at an employer, that you are required to report regardless of whether your employer is reporting. And employers cannot require employees to report to them if they have made a report. And so all of that is very important for any person working in any kind of facility or organization that works with children, because it puts that responsibility on all of us to do our work if we have seen something that is a situation that puts a child at risk. And that's not just what might happen in the center, it's also what might happen with families or any other kind of situation a child might be in that we hear about or have a suspicion.
How promptly do you do this?
It is within 48 hours.
What other questions? We can go to Mia.
Hi, my name is Mia Keen. Thank you for your presentation. I'm representing Community Affairs. I was just curious a little bit more on the financial side, if you would give me a moment. I believe you said that you were operating at a little bit of a loss currently on your budget this year, and I'm seeing from my notes from last year when I was on peer review committee that it seems like you had been operating at that loss for about 5 years since a recent expansion, and that part of that was needing to refund some money toward KU endowment. Could you just let us in on a little bit, since you're asking for a flat fee, but you're still at a loss, what kind of are your plans on the table for leveling that out or, making that even with the university? Just a little bit more insight.
Sure. Well, I don't have a lot of insight yet, so I'm day 10 on this interim role. So certainly we're going to look at the expenses, particularly the west expansion. So those plans will be developed. So I'm sorry that's not an answer you're looking for, but that's what I'm here for, is to try to help with that.
No worries. Thanks for your help.
Sure.
Well, thank you. That looks like all the time we have. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
she mentioned the presentation, children, and original information, and those were like probably the three.
That's
biggest
yeah.
things,
That's
allergies, management, and just some like more physical. It's really
cool.
And teacher who gave them like
Again,
trainings.
Including
Just
that's
reinforcing all of those trainings.
to get.
So.
No, I still have to pay. I mean, it's like it's crazy. They'll be like easily $1,000 in like the community.
No, absolutely. They're trying to keep operating. Probably violated a lot of administration.
Case management, recycling.
Managing the structural operations.
Oh, and SAPEC. Yeah, this is just SAPEC recycling.
I know, it's a big makeup set that
You can do a little rundown of the So we've got a live stream going. It'll pick up anything you say near the podium here. But if you want to move around, you can use this microphone. Everything you see here will show up right on there and on the live stream. And you'll have 30 minutes for the presentation.
Okay, and my notes.
If you have notes in there, they'll show up.
Okay, I wrote them down just in case, but okay, that sounds good. And I have
Questions for
15 minutes. Time for questions.
Yeah, we typically have like 30 minutes.
Yeah, I'm gonna time myself so I don't go over, but do I just start when I'm ready or?
Yeah, go ahead and start whenever.
Oh, yeah.
All right, hello everyone. Thank you for letting me speak to you. My name is Rachel Otten, and I'm here to represent the Student Support and Case Management Office and Student Affairs. And so just want to start by saying I'm really grateful for your time and the opportunity to talk to you about our office. So again, I'm Rachel Otten. I use she, her pronouns. I am a licensed social worker, and I'm the director of the Student Support and Case Management Office. So with that office, we have a wonderful, small and mighty team. There's myself as the director. We have 3 full-time case management positions. We have another case manager who specifically oversees or supports our residential student population, so works with our on-campus housing students. We have a practicum student from the School of Social Welfare for the past 4 years. We've had that position, and then we also have an administrative associate. So what is this office? We are an office of social workers, like I said, and our role is to provide non-clinical support on campus to students, all students, who might be experiencing really any type of issue while here at the university. So we support graduate students, undergraduate students, international students, really truly any student who might need support or is going through a difficult time. We provide non-clinical support, individualized support, are able to meet with them and connect them to resources, assess needs, and just be point people on campus for someone to turn to if they don't know where they're going or what to do. I always say that this is a huge university. We're incredibly resource rich here, which is amazing. But if you're overwhelmed, going through a crisis, or just generally don't know what resources exist, it doesn't really matter that they're here. So our role is to make sure we know the policies, the resources, the options to connect students to where they need to go. Just some brief history real quick on what is higher education case management. This office came about after the Virginia Tech tragedy, because after that tragedy, it was made known that different pockets of that university had concerns about a student, but they didn't all report to one place. And so universities determined that they really needed one reporting house for students who might be posing a threat to themselves or to the broader community. So we do that in the case management office. We do the threat assessment in partnership with our support and care referral team, which I'll talk about in a second. But mainly, we support students who are just struggling, not necessarily a risk to the broader campus. That's very minimal of what we see here, but we do see students who are struggling with suicidal ideation or self-harm, or just need additional support. So again, we're kind of the connector of dots around campus resources, community resources, and making sure students have access to where they need to go. If a student is referred to our office, or if they find themselves reaching out to us on their own, a couple things to note is that we do not charge for our services, so there's no financial barrier to accessing this resource. There's no wait list for our services, so when a student is connected to us, we are often reaching out same day and getting them in within a matter of days, depending on what works for their schedule as well. But once a student reaches out to us, we do an intake assessment where we determine kind of what we share, what we think or what we know their needs are based on the referral. They're able to share what their needs are from their own perspective. And then we just have a conversation. And again, as social workers, we are doing that assessment. We are having difficult conversations, and we are then creating an action plan of what will we as the case manager do in terms of like connecting with financial aid, getting a student information on CAPS, connecting them with the Student Access Center for academic accommodations, and then also what the student will do. So what part of the action plan steps will they implement as well? Once we meet with the student and have that action plan in place, then we're always following up with them. We're asking, did that plan work? How are you doing? Checking in on their needs, offering to meet again. Typically, we meet with students 1 to 2 times kind of per need or per referral, but we can meet with students as many times as needed. So 5, 10, 20 times, we see that as well. Just briefly too, if you're not familiar with social work, kind of the idea in our office is that we look at students from a holistic perspective. So of course it's important to be a student, show up to campus, pay your tuition, do well in class, but even more so, we're looking at you as that whole person. How are you doing health-wise? How are you doing with your finances, your families, your connections, your peer relationships? And we're also looking at students from a strengths-based approach. So inherent in all of us are strengths. And even if someone is going through a really difficult time or struggling or in crisis, you still have strengths inside of yourself. So how can we pull those out? How can we build on those and make sure we're focusing on that as well? So I mentioned our support and care referral team, and just briefly want to touch on this. This is our risk assessment team on campus. We meet weekly and review all students who are referred through this office, but want to show this team, one, because it's really important to campus safety, but also the SSCM office grew out of SCRT. So SCRT has been around for 12-ish years, somewhere 12, 15 years. And it was quickly made known that as more and more students got referred to the SCRT, there needed to be a person to actually do the follow-up support for these students who were in the referrals. And so the case management office started with one person, has grown into the team that I just talked about. And we really are essential in promoting the safety on campus as well as overall campus wellness for our students and what they experience here. So just wanted to show how you can get connected to our office. We have a system called the Care Referral. This is anyone can fill it out. You can submit one for your peers, someone that you're concerned about or just want to make sure they're connected to support. You can also fill it out for yourself, and it can be filled out anonymously. We never want that to be a barrier to someone getting support. So numbers, they're important. We, again, are a small team, but we are very busy. And so for the last academic year, we had just over 1,300 total referrals. These are some of our most common reasons for referral. And the numbers don't quite add up. One, because this isn't all that we see. And two, more often than not, students present with multiple layers of need. And so someone comes in for mental health needs that's impacting their academics, then that causes financial concerns in regards to their scholarship. So one example, but you can kind of see what we see here. And again, the severity of some of these needs, the seriousness of some of these, and again, just seeing kind of the numbers that our small team of 4 full-time case managers manage. So far this year, and this was ran a few days ago, so it's even more than this, we've had 955 referrals, so on track for even more than last year. Like I mentioned before, we do support all students on campus. And so in the 2023-2024 year, we had over 1,200 unique students served. And that included 993 undergrad students and 62 graduate students, as well as 73 international students. Again, these numbers don't quite add up sometimes because some of our cases aren't tagged when they come in. But for the 2024 and 2025 school year, we had, again, just over 1,200 unique students served, 956 undergrad, 62 graduate, and 82 international students. Major themes that we see, again, mental health needs, loss of parents, siblings, other relatives or loved ones, loss of a home or housing situation, accidents, medical diagnoses, traumatic events. So again, some really big things that our students are navigating. And our role is to provide advocacy and support in these moments of great difficulty. And really our mission believes that when someone is experiencing these things, they should not be navigating it by themselves. Again, this is a huge place and it can be really overwhelming. And so our role is just to provide that support, make phone calls on behalf, send emails on behalf, let faculty know if a student is missing class, if they lost someone that they care about, so that that burden isn't just on the student. So I wanted to share some feedback. We send out surveys to every student that is in our office, whether or not they meet with us, because we want to get information on why they maybe didn't meet with us. And I did forget to mention this, but we don't compel students to meet with us. So it is totally voluntary. It is not in any way a punishment or because they're in trouble. It's just purely out of support. But some of this feedback comes from those surveys, and I won't read them to you, but you can just kind of see that students really do appreciate having someone on campus who advocated for them, gave them the information that they needed, was just a thoughtful person who sat with them in times of distress. We also work daily with parents and other family members. So I think we really serve as a resource for them when they are overwhelmed or feel like their student may not be in the best spot. So this one came from a student that we helped with during a mental health crisis, who then ended up needing to withdraw from the university, and we kind of took that burden off of them so they could focus on the student's mental health, help them figure out the withdrawal process, and you can see that they were appreciative of that. And then lastly too, we support faculty and staff. So we work with them daily. They're a big source of our referrals, but also in order to do their jobs, they need to be able to focus on the classroom and focus on, what they're paid to do here. And so when students are struggling in their classroom, if we can take that support, kind of take that responsibility of supporting a student off of them so that they can focus on what they're there to do, we can then provide that support. And you can see here that obviously this is a slight exaggeration. There's many, many things that work well here at KU, but this faculty was really supportive of the work that we do. And again, just emphasizing, I do think our office is seen as a vital resource to campus wellness and safety. We partner with not just students, but faculty, staff, parents, family members, as well as community agencies. So we have good relationships with Burt Nash, with the TRC, with LMH, and we just help create a safety net for students at risk and in distress, as well as students just needing connection to community or assistance with their basic needs. So why am I here? So currently asking for a $4 fee, and what that would pay for is the salaries for a case manager position and administrative assistant. These are existing positions, so they would not be new, as well as a stipend for our practicum student. So again, we've had a student for the past 4 years, have one currently, and they currently provide over 500 hours of service to our office, and it's completely unpaid. So it would be amazing to be able to pay them for the service that they provide, not just to our office, but to the university as a whole. Also asking for an operations budget. Our operations budget is currently incredibly minimal, and we would love to just be able to purchase additional things, travel for conferences, and other events that would help us grow in our knowledge of what other universities are doing as well. Currently, our positions in this office are really pieced together by a wide variety of funding. So we have endowment, Bay State funding, block funding, as well as student affairs cash savings. One thing to know about the cash savings, those are going away with the recent budget reductions. So we are going to see that decrease very soon. If we're not able to fund these positions, again, they're current positions. So if potentially they're not funded, those jobs go away, that would lead to a big service reduction. Again, we're already a very small office that provides basically support to 27,000 students at the university. Obviously, not each of those students are referred to us, but they could be at any time. And so just a service reduction, we would not be able to provide the level of support, the quick turnaround that we do, the lack of a wait list, all of those things would be compromised. Additionally, if we lose positions, that increases the the workload for each existing case manager. So currently, case managers see a caseload anywhere, it depends on the time of year, but typically we see caseloads around 40 to 60 students. So one of those positions goes away. That's then trickled down to the rest of the case managers. Right now, we do have a vacancy in that position, and so we're looking at in our busiest time, we'll see caseloads of 60, 70, 80 students per caseload. And what that means is that it can cause staff burnout. It can cause safety concerns for students, because if we're not on top of our job and doing that assessment and making sure that we are following up with students in a timely manner, students can be at risk if they're struggling with those high level of concerns. Also, just less ideal outcomes for students. So even when students aren't necessarily, if their health or safety isn't at risk, they might still be waiting on us to follow up with financial aid about their scholarship. They might still be waiting on us to get in contact with the Access Center to get their accommodations in place. And the more time that it takes for us to do that, the less time that student has getting the support that they need to then be successful in the classroom and out. Just want to touch on too our administrative assistance position. This person does not just man our front desk. They are really essential in running our office. They frontline all of the phone calls and the emails, which we get multiple every single day, the walk-ins that exist. And if that then had to go to a case manager or someone else to frontline that again takes away their time from meeting with students, takes away their time from doing the follow-up that's essential to case management. This person is also very skilled in being a calm presence in the office. We often get upset people calling us, whether they're angry or just really scared or just don't know what to do. This person is, again, very skilled in managing that, having a calm conversation with them, getting them resources that they need immediately, but then also making sure that there's a warm handoff to a case manager for additional support. Lastly, how is student feedback incorporated? Currently, we send out surveys to every student who is referred to our office, and once we are finished working that case, so they're able to fill those out. It's not mandatory, so they can fill those out on their own time should they choose, but it does give us really good feedback on what their experience was like, if it was helpful, if it wasn't. We collect both qualitative and quantitative data and make sure that we're incorporating that feedback into our service provision. We also just get pretty regular feedback from faculty, staff, parents, families, referral sources, make sure that we're implementing that too. If something doesn't go well, how can we fix that? If something is going really well, how do we heighten that and make sure that that continues? We currently don't have an advisory board structure, but know that multiple offices in student affairs do have that. And that's absolutely something that we would be open to looking into and just making sure that our office is functioning well and supporting students in the way that we hope to. Okay. I think that's my spiel.
Okay. What questions do we have? Let's go in the back, Tom, and me.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much for the presentation. My name is Omomi, representing GSAP. You guys are doing tremendous work. I understand case management and I know how intense that could be. However, my question is going to start from looking at the increase in fee that could impact either employment or not employing a new case management or a new case manager, and how that would impact the increase in the cases being handled, especially with the fact that there are other alternatives that also provide these services, not to the extent of case management like CAPS, BETNASH. So what is that tiny difference that makes students be referred to you, to your office, because if these other options exist, which could automatically reduce case management load and workload and all of those. So I'm just wondering, how can you work around that in order to reduce, the amount of cases being handled by your staffs?
So to make sure I heard your question right, how can we work with additional services to make sure that we're not just
Yeah,
increasing
like
our
CAPS
workload?
and BETNASH, yeah.
Yeah, so thank you. So we definitely partner with all of those agencies. The difference I think between like CAPS and Burt Nash is they offer clinical support. So they're doing the therapy, which is different than case management. So they sit and they provide the therapy. They're doing their modalities. They're talking through trauma. They're providing ongoing services. Whereas we are more so the resource connection. So our services are more short term. But in my experience, working with those agencies, their therapists don't have time to do the case management piece. So if they're working on therapy, because we partner a lot with CAPS, if a student signs a release, if they're working on with a student in a therapy session, and that student then needs to submit a retroactive withdrawal or get connected to the SAC for services, CAPS doesn't have the ability, their staff, to do all that follow-up work. So if the student signs a release, they send it over to us, and that's then our role to do that follow-up work. So I think to answer your question, yes, we work in collaboration, but passing off to each other doesn't necessarily decrease the workload for any one office.
Yeah, I guess that is why I asked, what is that tiny line that needs to be crossed for a particular case to have to go through case management? Because if it's mental health issues that has resulted into maybe financial loss, and CAPS is able to handle the mental health aspect, it's possible that the client is able to handle their financial loss themselves without case management coming in.
Mhm.
So that is, I guess that is my particular question. What is that tiny line that might possibly reduce case management workload?
Me, I think we need to make sure there's time for other people to ask questions too. And so we're going to try to limit follow-ups. But if you have anything to say in regards to that, go ahead.
Sure. So yeah, I think it's just really hard because it depends on the individual. Someone might be in therapy and then able to access their other needs on their own. But again, a lot of what our job is to even provide the awareness and the knowledge of how to access those resources. And even though that seems like an easy thing, like just send an email, when someone is in distress, it's so much more effective to meet with them or at least do some of that legwork before they have to do it on their own. So that's been my experience in the 8 years that I've been here. Of course, I can just send an email. The chances of that student being able to follow up on their own when they're also experiencing other layers of distress or high need is slim based on what I've known when we can sit with them, call that person themselves, or myself call financial aid, get that information to them, and then hand it to them in an easily digestible manner.
We can go to Esperanza next.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Good afternoon. Since you guys are a new organization within the student fee, and during deliberations, we noticed that we won't be able to fully fund your $4 request. How would it look like if we funded half, like approximately $2 per student fee? Would that be satisfactory? Would that assist your organization to contribute with your work?
Sure. So I do think that, we would be grateful for any fund that student fee is providing. However, we currently have, or in the past have received block funding for just about that amount. I think just under $2. And so I think we've had that before. And this ask is because we need additional structured funding that is more stable. And so I do think with other budget or other funding sources being cut, this ask is really what we need to be able to sustain the work that we have been doing for the past 8 years. We aren't asking for a new position. I think we could always use more, but this is really just to sustain what we already have.
What other questions?
Kay Decker, I'm the IA. Could you speak more to your external funding or like revenue sources, or specifically like what percentage of your revenue is like from Student Senate?
So our block funding currently, that currently funds one case manager position. So I don't know exactly the percentage that would come out to, but it funds one position within the office of 6 of us right now. And in addition, just thinking revenue streams, because we don't charge for our services, I don't know if that's clear, but we don't have income coming in based on just the services that we provide.
Hi. So, please correct me if I'm wrong. Robert, Community Affairs Rep. Last year at Block, you were wanting to hire another person, and then that, like that person was hired, correct? Even though you didn't get the full ask, because the years are all current positions.
It was not an additional position. It was for
Okay.
the same position. We had asked for additional funding to fund our administrative assistant, knowing that the VPSA funds would be eventually dry, and that was the part that was not.
Perfect. Thank
provided.
you.
Yep.
What other questions do we have? Do we have any questions going on about that yet? I'll check in a minute. Okay.
Thank you. I'm sorry to come back to that same question again, because I was asking, having conversation with him. He mentioned about a point, and I said that what I'm actually referring back to is the fact that do your office feel overburdened because they might be just a layer that I understand you that you need to provide resources. I get that. But there might just be a layer that a client needs to figure out the rest on their own. So don't you think your office feels overburdened, whereby it's impacting your financial, request to like maybe one more because you need more staffs to be able to handle the cases you have?
So I think that's hard to say. I wouldn't say that we feel overburdened because of the level of student need that we are seeing. I think the students that are referred to us need to be referred to us. So of course, there are some that aren't. And also too, we have lots of cases where we reach out to the students and they don't respond either because their needs are met or they don't feel like they need that support. So that's pretty simple for us to then close that case and move on. So I do feel strongly that the students that do respond to us and meet with us, they need this support on campus. And just over the past 8 years, we've seen that number grow and grow and grow. And I don't think that's because other offices aren't pulling their weight or because students aren't able to access resources on their own. I just think it's due to the level of needs that we're seeing students come in with at this time.
We have time for maybe one more question. Two more questions. Back to Robert.
So you mentioned that you guys don't have a direct student advisory board. So I was wondering how receptive you'd be to any conditionality we attach to your allocation in a resolution with the fee package.
Yeah, and in regards to the advisory board specifically?
No, just
any.
Yeah.
Not having been here before, I want to say we'd be very open to that. I don't know exactly what that means, like what could be attached to that. But in terms of like the advisory board, that's something that we would welcome considering. Again, we have our student surveys, but I think any way that we could make sure that we are actually meeting the needs of the student population on campus and not just, the students that we see, but are there student populations that we're missing? Are there others that we could increase our touch points to? I think having an advisory board could be really essential in that work.
Thank you.
Do we have time for one more?
Seeing no questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, y'all. I do believe we have a little 15-minute break scheduled in here. Just make sure you're back by 3:15.
Maybe student employee, yes.
So it's not $4 out, where it's still wanting to kind of ongoing. So, well, if we're taking the money away from the students and it's where they're already getting money from block, because they're on block, they just like block more. So they're basically split off the block instead. So that's why they're already getting just stuff.
Yeah. So that's what it's applies for that.
Okay. Yeah, so basically they're already on their own block, there's block is 5%. then it's worth much more. So instead of being part of the city fee, they should be part of their own city fee. You know, at least the current level of funding they have. I'll make sure there's because there is a process for requirement, whatever that amount is, I'll take it out of the current city fee. So most of their asks is like already money that they're getting, so it's not that big of an increase. We'll see, I mean,
Okay, good.
yeah, I don't know if it's, I don't know if it's for the. Yeah.
Not exactly scratch.
We're not paying that
Where
fee
did that
anymore, and it
come
was
from?
upheld.
And I messaged,
Like, we don't pay,
no one picked it up.
No, that's what we're talking about.
Yes, don't pay for it. Let's say our whole company trying to keep an mail for December. I have used them when there's genuinely nowhere else. But they're so like we're not gonna need to take all the ones to keep them. Like we're gonna go and something like we're just gonna.
Okay, so remember the minute that whole thing with the edges. What was the committee that?
So you can't remove money from.
No, it was,
free because it's a set amount given by the
I
state.
can find out like.
Okay, so let's do like, let's take
You may not.
Let's talk about that.
I think some money should be added to walking this. First and foremost, from a consumer services. First and foremost.
Three people here?
Yeah. Or no, just two. Just.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes,
Yes,
yes, it's very big.
And it might.
I just don't think we should do what everyone that has tested for. I think we should first of all give them.
I wasn't even there for caps.
You didn't talk through the actual.
My problem is.
Like 6 hours.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
My problem is they
Walk
also
is kind
have
of
like
like
stuff nice embedded. For like, I get it, law school. I mean, I don't need therapy personally.
Sure.
I don't know. But no, my thing is like, not all students get the full benefit of that fee. Like, because they can't access it, right? Like.
But then
That's
also,
usually
like, I don't really have regular walk-ins.
That's what it's
Like, a lot of students try to do that, so
Yeah,
it's like.
exactly.
Yeah.
My only worry is that like, even once you always say money for like camera counselors and they're free, which I really admire. But my only thing is with this app, which is also a great thing to have, I'm worried that they're like outsourcing students to the app, but also paying therapists like, like,
We
crazy,
have
it's like crazy salaries for a good reason, but like, it's like, we can't really ensure that that money is.
That's what it sounded like, because I talked a lot about the app, and I was like.
They were just real kind of like, they were like,
Yeah, that's not your guys' program.
Right.
And he said that they received, that they got into a nursing this year because they got some cuts. That's why they're requesting all of that, but that's because they like got a raise last year. They can't
Turn
do
it to the.
anymore, like that's too much. Yeah, they don't want to know last year, and he's pretty
With the.
that on like, just like hiring. And it's not like. That's like kind of helpful.
You know, Sean, I
Yeah, just for.
Yeah.
Sean, I've yet to see challengers.
What?
I've yet to see challengers.
I haven't seen it either.
I know, but I don't.
Yeah, I
So,
don't know.
I haven't seen it either.
No, this guy asked me to see with him, and I was like, he has to be looking gay if he has that. On the back, like, I love that. But I was like, why don't I just like,
No, but George comes down and would watch you drive. He asked every neighbor for grade up. I've never seen it. I only saw one episode of it. I've seen the worst. I'm still trying to catch up with some friends.
But I don't think we
No, it's long. Have you seen Heated Rivalry?
I think there are 2 heated rivalry Valentine's floating around.
I've
so
never
maybe you
seen
can trade.
I'm gonna
if you
steal.
want.
I'm gonna steal her.
Yeah, trade out for your pop culture friends.
I've never seen this like rivalry. I want the legally blonde one was mine. So even when I was blonde, when I was red, that was out. And it was but I'm still there. I saw the wicked one. There's a couple breakouts here on that side. I'm not feeling that. Actually, the opposite yeah, no, they're all like there's this place I
Oh, you're.
That's right. What do you think? I'm trying to read. Oh. No, you haven't. What are you?
You got the best one.
Yeah, I think that's so. It's 29. I don't think. No, I feel like the 29. No, absolutely. Because I don't feel that adult. No, I'm just barely starting to do my classes. No, literally, I did money on the rest of the year. I feel so like, okay, it's manageable.
I would be, yeah, I just. I don't website on it,
Well, that's a good trade-off. That's a good trade-off.
I just don't want like 3W. No, so basically my 50 and my 1099 is interest and my 5028 because I make more for my bank account's interest than I do for loan work. So I have to file a special form for that.
Exactly. So I think we're gonna.
I'm so sad.
I don't think I won't be valid on it till like $12, but I know we're definitely gonna have to get in to something. Something like doesn't need to service bring back the future like there's it doesn't even need to say like I don't really have the shit but I'm sorry, the people who say that
So, but you got the best one.
It's okay, challenge yourself. It's not even gonna be what I like.
Yeah, this guy.
They might. They,
Only seen a couple.
I
didn't work out.
Yeah. No, because I like. Oh, I don't like. Oh, there's another new rivalry one.
Oh, is there?
Here, with the friends.
Oh.
Yeah. It looks like they do.
You want it?
wait, is that the challengers?
This is the challengers one.
I'll get the challengers.
It's like for Abbott. It's like Pokemon cards. Oh, do you want one too?
Can I just get a flyer? I don't think I.
Oh, yeah. Let me grab it. That I hit everybody. All right, Jen, I'm gonna make it fast. Just let me know. We were on Zoom, so.
Dr. Walmley said that Rhonda Sharp did.
Sorry, I missed you. No, it was a cooperation. But I did not see the numbers. I wasn't part of the numbers piece, but it was cooperation. It was like management, budget office. I can't, I don't know that.
Should I continue the tradition of having like a little sticker on the fee presentation? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, which one? Oh, wait. I think I know which one, yeah. Are you talking about this one?
Yeah. It's been on like every fee presentation for that specific
I
slide.
remember Cam did that.
We were like, you were, I was watching like Andy Max's presentation.
Are you averaging 10 minutes in questions, 15 minutes in questions?
Yeah.
Dependent?
10 to 15.
Okay, looks like we're getting started. Thank you everyone for making your way back after the break. My name is Jen Brockman. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the director of the Sexual Assault Prevention and Education Center. So I'm very excited to be able to be here for what's now my 7th year to get to talk about our office and talk about the support that Student Senate Fees has given SAPEC over the years. So hopefully most of you are pretty familiar with our office, but if you're not, let me give you a little 3x5. So the Sexual Assault Prevention and Education Center, we have been in office at KU for 10 years now, and we provide primary prevention education around sexual violence, intimate partner violence, and stalking. And when we say primary prevention education, we are working to change attitudes, behaviors, and beliefs before harm occurs. We have a unique placement in higher education where we are not what's called a dual program. We have other offices on campus and in our community, like Care Services, the Sexual Trauma and Abuse Care Center, and the Willow, that do that direct advocacy and support for folks impacted by harm. Our office only does the prevention education side. Now, everyone in my office, we have a history of working in the advocacy field, but because we are a standalone prevention office, that means I get to hire the best people for education, curriculum development, event management. We can really do our focus in on that, which is how we've been able to accomplish so many incredible things and really set SAPEC up as a national benchmark in higher education for prevention offices. We are one of the top tier, and I say that with humility, offices in the country. We get consultation calls from other institutions very frequently to review their programs, assist them with assessment, help set up and redo their programs, because we're doing things here that aren't happening other places. And we could not do that without the support of Student Senate and having such an engaged student population. So let me talk a little bit about what that looks like. So when I speak to the programs we're doing, one of the things that hopefully you've noticed is that we just don't, how you'd say, like throw spaghetti against the wall to see what sticks. We have a charge and we have research backing to know what works. Whether we're using the CDC's model, environmental design models, Institute of Medicine models, when we put forth our programs, they go through a rigorous evaluation through multiple different processes and grid lines to make sure that what we're doing is worth the time, effort, and it's going to move the needle. This is a quick snapshot of a little bit of it. So this is our model off of the CDC, out of the Stop SV, Stop Sexual Violence. So this is 3 of the 5 principles. So we do focus under social norms, which is creating the community that we want to live in. How do we do that? And we do that at the relationship and community level, which is the gold standard in the socio-ecological model. And active examples of that are Jayhawks Give a Flock, which is our bystander intervention program. It's actually the largest evidence-based bystander program in the country. And through, on the opposite end of that spectrum, through small group work with long exposure mentorship. So this is an Men's Action Project, is an 8-week small group mentorship program open to students of all gender identities, but that centers the experiences of men, masculine folks, and folks with a nexus to masculinity around relationship, interpersonal skills, emotional regulation, and prevention. We actually got a national grant award for this program this year. We do passive programming, such as Jayhawks Give a Flock, that are the t-shirts, we call them mobile billboards that you see. And then our I Ask the Cutie Before I Touch the Booty sticker, which is iconic. But that really speaks to that social change as well, because we can look at social norming. It's Jayhawks Give a Flock. It's setting that shared value of behavior. The I Ask the Cutie. It's not you need to do it. It's that I've already said that I'm doing it. I'm dedicating and taking ownership of that in my behavior. So we have intentionality in all of those places. We also work to teach skills for prevention of sexual and intimate partner violence. That's on the individual and relationship level of our model. Our active examples are our Prevention is Possible seminar. This is an academic class that we have in partnership with social welfare, which has on average 1,300 students enroll in it every year. We have other educational prevention programs that we do, such as relationship goals, which is helping students to build healthy interpersonal partner skills. And then the art of rejection. Sounds kind of odd, but that's also a consent program. We don't really have a consent culture. If we are all just here and excited for the yes, we need to understand that to truly have a consent culture, we have to be able to process, accept, and move forward once we have received rejection as well. So how do we reject with respect? How do we process rejection with respect as well? So those are just 2 small examples. Our passive programs under this vein are awareness events like Boostander. So this is an immersive bystander program. Think about an escape room, but we set it up in a house party-based scenario. Students come in groups with their friends. They work through this immersive space. If they can identify and react to 3 situations that need bystander intervention, their whole group wins tickets to concerts, festivals, local community events that we get donated from the community as part of our Town Gown partnership, because our community has said, if you're a good bystander, we want you out at things because you make our event better. So that is a great partnership. And then things like our Sexual Assault Awareness Month, which is coming up in April. And one of our signature programs for that is the What Were You Wearing Survivor installation. This is an international project. I'm the co-creator for it, and SAPEC is the international distributor for it. It's been replicated, we're coming up on like 100,000 times now, and it's live on 6 continents. And KU's the hub for that distribution through our office. We also have creating protective environments. This is that relationship and community level again. We can see that actively through policy work. So we're not just working in the classroom, we're working in policies where we have a requirement for new KU faculty and staff within the first year of their hiring. They need to complete Leading the Flock, which is the staff and faculty version of a bystander intervention training. So to the students do it, our faculty and staff got to catch up and be on the same wavelength with them. And then we have environmental design practices. We actually have a statewide grant, and we run a state grant program across 4 counties for this. The KU local version of it is Read the Room, which works with student organizations to make sure that their environment is reflecting their values and the safety for their guests and themselves. And then we work with 4 other counties. We just finished our support of Ottawa University, and we have Haskell University we're supporting through this grant next year. And passive, you'll see that on your Canvas accounts. We run in the dropdown of every student's Canvas account is support and reporting resources for students right at your fingertips, so you don't have to look for it. And then we process trauma-informed waivers for anything that's required for students. It's a lot of stuff. Not just do we have a high frequency or high volume, we have a high frequency. These are our numbers for you. You can see last year, and then this year, that's just the fall semester. Obviously, we're starting the spring semester. We've already done 11 programs with students so far, but those numbers aren't reflected. So you can see we have about 93% of incoming students complete Jayhawks Give a Flock. We've got our enrollment and our Prevention is Possible seminar. Beyond those 2 flagship programs, we're going to far surpass our 2,000 students that do those educational programs afterwards. We typically average around 6,000 to 8,000 in direct awareness programming a year. And then we have a research study that this is our last year. It's our Prevention is Possible research study. This is a 5-year dual cohort longitudinal study, which means for the last 5 years, we've been tracking 2 cohorts of students for their experiences with education, knowledge retention, skills application. It's the first study of its kind. We just finished it, and we are vetting researchers from all over the country who are blown up my phone to want to be on this data processing research side of it, because it's going to make huge changes to the prevention world, and it's happening here at KU. And then we support student staff for their knowledge and development. I'm going to jump on something real quick here because I know it's in your questions. Casey had let us know one of your questions was about unique student application. So we also manage the required online training that you have to do, or you get the SXH enrollment hold. So sorry, thank you for your service for everyone who completed that. That meets our federal VOCA and Clery Act requirements. We are redoing it. Next year is going to be much better because we are leaving one contract and we're going to build it in-house next year. Very excited. So that gets me 98% of all enrolled students. Okay, that's not moving the needle. We also know with Flock, we got 93 of incoming students. We have lots of unique users. Here's what I will say, and this is not reflective of what any other department needs to do for us with the way that the research for prevention lines up, is yes, I want to hit every single KU student, but what I actually need to do to affect change is I need to have 5 contacts and exposures, or we call them interventions, with that student during their time there at KU. And to move the needle, I actually don't need 100% of students, I need 30%. And so I want to get to every student, but when we're actually looking to impact change, my goal is 30% of the students that we connect with a minimum of 5 times to develop, to change those attitudes, behaviors, and beliefs. And then they move as thought leaders and change progressives in their own community spaces. So we do have all the unique users. We're getting all of their students, but our real focus is in-depth, robust, repeat education so that we can actually make real measurable change on our campus and in individuals. So here's the thing that I'm doing that I've never done before. I'm asking for an increase, a big one. This is my 7th year coming forth, and you can look at our past processes. If you count the 75-cent increase across 7 years, I've asked for a $1.10 increase, including this year. Usually we ask for no increase or ask for 5 cents, or we also do self-reductions. When I bring in grant money or get other funding, I come back and ask for less money. This year's asking for more. This is different for us. Here's why. We're looking to set up sustainable growth for our office. That 75-cent increase would allow us to have a paid graduate assistant position. This is our last paid grad assistant who graduated with a job in hand at MU working in student affairs. We have an incredibly high success rate of students leaving our office and immediately moving into full-time jobs or scholarship master's programs. We are also going to use this money, or would use this money, to pay for a Master's of Social Work macro. That's the big picture, not individual care. A practicum position. Those are very hard to find. There are a few of them. And what we know is most of our MSW macro students are traveling at least an hour to get that practicum site, which is required to graduation. And most of them are unpaid. They still have to pay their tuition hours. So we're actually paying a business to let them work for free. That's not right. We have an incredible program to support students, make them competitive in the future, and develop as a professional. And we have the opportunity to do that through our site because we have 2 master's level staff members that can proctor. This would allow us to do that. And then allow us to support 4 paid undergraduate students. Our undergraduate positions are extremely robust. Our students leave that space with really developed public speaking skills, environmental development skills, event management skills. They get to run budgets for their individual programs, and they get research and assessment experience. They are excessively competitive in the job market when they leave us. So we want to be able to support that. It also helps us with funding variances, safeguards against changing tides. When all of a sudden preventing violence is no longer something that feels important, this helps us to sustain and say it is still important to KU. That's where we're behind this ask. What that looks like is I hope not to make any more asks, right? I hope that I am able to, as I will show you and as some of you know, secure more funding, bring in more research dollars so that I don't have to ask for more money moving forward. This staff money or this money would go to paying for folks to do the work on the field. Programming and supplies is really small. Nobody stretches a dollar like I do. And so as you will see with the last slides, when we looked at those cost matrix, our per student cost matrix for doing this programming is extremely low. We are very, very careful with financial expenditures. I also, coming from a nonprofit background, love funding diversification. This I even hate. I don't like my money being in this pot. I really am working towards where no money out of SAPEC is more than 50% in one funding stream. 099 monies is our bulk right now. And then obviously you all are an incredible financial supporter. The 906 and 908 money, those are my grant funds that are specifically tagged for our research that we are doing. And then I-700, those are awards, not grant monies. And then our endowment account that we are building up. My goal long-term is that we have extreme diversification to safeguard and be able to be sustainable and lean on you less because we have more people that are contributing and being a part of it. How that diversification looks, we have a long history of financial stewardship. The money we have received through different awards over the years, we've stretched it. We've made it last a really long time. I also apply for grants and awards pretty frequently, and I get rejected a whole bunch. That's part of the game. If you're not applying, you're not getting rejected. So every year, I'm looking, I'm applying, we're building those out, and we're getting better at those applications. This year, we got a renewal on our state grant for the Rape Prevention Education Grant. So that brought in about $35,000, not all to SAPEC. We distribute that to our implementation sites. The $4,000 from the unscripted, that's the award that we got for the Men's Action Project. Our partnership, academic partnership with the School of Social Welfare allows us to cover partial salary for one of our staff who coordinates that program based on enrollment monies that come in from that. We have an endowment that we are building out. We've secured several new donors this year. And then we get corporate sponsorship. Central Bank helps sponsor Jayhawks Give a Flock. On the horizon, we got a whole bunch. The big one is the National Institute of Health Research Grant. It's a massive grant, very competitive, but we hope to submit for that for our Prevention is Possible research study. If we're able to secure that, those grants are usually $250,000 to $750,000. And it's the goal, but we should all be striving to bring in money from diversified sources, at least in my line of work, when we have that opportunity. If we see a reduction, 5% or 10% reduction, I'll tell you in the short term, in the first year or so, we really won't see that much of a change because I've got safeguards built in. I have those diversified funding streams. I've got a way that we can keep things afloat for a little bit of time. However, once we move past that, if we see reductions, what will change is our ability to do paid employment for students. Those are our biggest chunk, with undergraduate students being about 10 to 12,000 a year. A practicum student would be about 8, and a graduate student is about 25,000. And so when we look at those reductions, being able to do paid employment for students is the space that would have to be reduced, not because it is not valuable, but we can't reduce something that serves 5,000 students like Jayhawks Give a Flock. So we'd reduce something that served a smaller number of students, such as employment, unfortunately. Again, going back to the space, we're asking for a 75-cent increase, which would bring us up to $3.80, which still puts us at historically one of the lower student fees for any department. And we ask that we continue forward because the work is important. And we know that it's important, not just from that value base, because there's no one in this room that is saying, you know what, sexual violence prevention doesn't matter. That's not happening. We do know that's important from an ethical, from a value-based lens. But even beyond that, prevention is retention. Research shows us that if a student experiences sexual violence while they're on campus, 40% of them leave or separate from the institution or seriously consider separation from an institution. So if we're looking, if you want to look at it from a financial lens, every dollar we put to preventing violence brings back money and sustainability for the institution because we're able to retain students to graduation. It's the right thing to do because we care about people. It's also the fiscally responsible thing to do to prevent violence from a retention standpoint, as we're looking at an ever dwindling population of new students coming in. That was 10 pounds of information in a 5-pound bag. What questions do you have for me?
What questions do we have? Let's start with Robert.
Hi, Robert, Community Affairs Rep. I just want to thank you, first of all, for your fiscal responsibility. It's always been something we've valued over the years. I was curious, a year out, how you moving from the Burge to the Dole Human Development Center has affected SAPEC, if any.
Yeah, it's a great question. We are 9 days in. And so right now, no, because we've been there for 9 days. Folks are doing good. We still got some boxes that we need to unpack. Most people are operating super well, very excited. We have windows, which is great. We are being desensitized to Big Tutor going off every hour. Keeps us on our toes. But at this point, the space works really well. What I've said from the beginning, when SAPEC first opened our doors, we were in a single office in Carruth O'Leary, with students sitting on the floor doing the work, staff in pods next to each other. And here's the interesting thing about our work. It doesn't happen in our office. I can't bring 20 people into SAPEC and do an education. We go where the people are. So our office is our launching pad, not our operational site. And so wherever we are, we're still going to do the work because the work is where the students are, not where our computers are.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You do have our Valentine's cards that just came hot off the press. This is a competition between all of our student staff to make consent-based Valentine's card off pop culture. So if you like them, like everything, we have a nothing for us without us philosophy at SAPEC. Nothing is created or leaves the office that hasn't been reviewed or implemented by students. And so they very much wanted me to bring this to share with you. And they have an internal competition of whose you will like the most. So I'm excited to give feedback on who's portrayed it the most because they're very excited.
We can go back to Robert if we don't have a question. Let's go to Omawunmi actually, and then we'll go back to Robert.
Oh. Thank you so much for your presentation. And Omaomi, I'm representing GSAP. Yeah, I know the importance of prevention, which is you know it helps in so many aspects, even the economic cost when we think about the actual act in itself. But thinking about the level of expertise that you have on your team, are you able to provide trainings to people outside of KU that could help you generate external incomes compared to what you have now?
We are. We do some things like with our grant where we are working with those 3 other counties. And so that is us having money that we're giving out to them, not necessarily money that we are bringing back into this space. But we do some consultant work out where we are going and we're training. Right now, we're not charging because it's usually through a higher education professional network. And so more of a professional courtesy that we are working and helping other programs be developed. But under student affairs, I think that's a broader question. If being allowable for us to do that, and if that would be something that would be approved by student affairs, then we definitely could see that as a stream of opportunity.
So are you looking towards seeking that approval or even asking?
We
if that
have
is
not done that
possible?
yet, but that's something that I'm happy to consider and to start to put that forward to Student Affairs Administration.
Tanya has a question.
Okay. Hi, thank you for the presentation. My name is Tanya Singh, and I'm Secretary of the Finance Council. Now, I know in your presentation you said that your contract with the current provider through which you provide trainings is expiring next year, and that you'll go through developing curriculums in-house next year. Would this include, I know your current provider has like additional training for graduate students that is maybe not required but offered. Would this office consider adding like additional or like also different training on sexual assault and harassment for graduate students in that setting, because it can look different between undergraduates and grad students?
Yeah, one of the great things about creating material in-house for the online training is that customization piece. And so our plan is to create multiple access streams. And so it would be assigned or open up to students based on their enrollment status. And so there would be a tailored track for the online training that would speak to specific needs and information for graduate students, undergraduate students, or returning undergraduate students versus first-year students as well. So we can do that customization piece within the process. And that is our plan.
Do we have any more questions? Robert, did you have one? Okay. All right. Well, Robert.
Is the travel to Ottawa and Haskell, is that part of your travel expenses, like $10,000 ish, or is that
All of that travel, anything that's off campus, for that is covered by the grant. So the grant
Yes.
specifically covers that. That's not part of the 10,000. We would never use a student fee money to support anything that's not KU specific. So that comes from our state Kansas Department of Health and Environment funding.
Do you have any further questions? Seeing no further questions, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you all so much.
University, the SAPEC which is senior finance. So if you have, we don't know, there's, so there's a student, which would be, that would be a good person.
Hello. Thank you all so much for inviting us, hosting us, being so welcoming this afternoon. My name is Dana Hartley, and I'm an assistant dean for the School of Professional Studies as well as Edwards campus. I'm going to get us started, but I have some amazing colleagues that are joining us today.
My name is Ashley Kalachusha. I am the Student Services Specialist on the Edwards campus. A little bit about me. I started my undergraduate degree at the KU Edwards campus, finished my master's as a student staff employee, and now I'm a full-time staff in student services.
Hello, can you all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Rhonda Sharp, and I am the Director of Operations and Fiscal Services for KU Edwards. And I'm not presenting today, but I'm here just as moral support and if there's any questions about the finances, because I know there's usually some questions about those. And I do handle the budget. So, and I used to help work with Casey and work with students in a lot in my previous role. So nice to see you all. Thank you for what you do.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the Edwards campus as well as the School of Professional Studies. You might hear me reference the School of Professional Studies as SPS. The acronym game does in fact drive down K-10 and happen at the Edwards campus as well. The mission of the Edwards campus is to bring high quality education programs to serve diverse workforce, economic, and community needs, with particular focus in the Kansas City region. We do have an incredibly strong connection, tether, and mission related to the area where our campus is located. The School of Professional Studies is anchored at the Edwards campus, but we have programs that reach far and wide. Our footprint has, in fact, made it to the Jayhawk Boulevard area. We have some programs that are now freshman facing, in addition to our transfer programs, online programs for undergraduate and graduate students. And again, our mission in SPS, as you can see, is connected to that workforce mentality, helping students gain the skills they need to be successful, to have lifelong careers, not just be lifelong learners. The profile of our student, we wanted you to know a little bit about who our humans are. Most of our students are undergraduate students right now. A high number of our students are seeking degree completion opportunities. They might even identify themselves as career changers. They've often transferred to KU from local community colleges. We have a robust relationship with Johnson County in particular, but you'll also find our students coming to us from KCCC, Metro, as well as other community colleges and universities in the Kansas and Metro area. Many of our graduate students are working professionals. They balance their full-time careers along with their coursework. And what that means is that there are sometimes funding implications. There are sometimes time commitment implications. These are individuals that are really hoping to further their career by taking the kind of coursework that allows them the flexibility of online learning, but having that strong connection and mentorship from faculty as well. Students often share a variety of lived experiences with us. They are parents, they are holding first-generation identities. They have a lot of pride in returning to school after stopping out when they first attended a university or college as well. We wanted to give you a slice of information related to some of the learning opportunities that are available at the Edwards campus and online. You'll see our portfolio reaches far and wide. We have programs in every single pathway, if you will, from STEM to behavioral science, business communication and leadership, creative arts and design, research areas that really allow a student to network and think about internship, lots of practical learning experiences as well. And then how many unique students have we served in the last 2 fiscal years? This was one of the questions that you all positioned in advance of today's conversation. So if you look at our numbers, they've held pretty steady when it comes to the total. You can see a breakdown of undergraduate and graduate students for us. Again, primary population that we serve on our campus is undergraduate. And the School of Professional Studies does continue to be the area that is growing in number, probably the fastest, and over time will reflect in the numbers as well. Ashley?
All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about what the student fee is used for at the Edwards campus and just a little bit more about the campus and student services as a whole. So as a brief overview, the Edwards campus, if you haven't ever been there, we are made of 3 different buildings. And these buildings host all those various different programs you saw before. but they also are where students from multiple campuses attend class. So you might have classmates that you are in classes with that take classes on our campus. Additionally, we kind of are a destination hub. So we have various collaborations happening across all of 1KU. So first step for student services is really that Welcome and Success Center. So in our Regent Center building, this is really the front door to all student services. And this is fully staffed by student employees. So they work that 9 to 7, Monday through Thursday, and Friday and Saturday, 9 to 5. If you call Edwards campus, you are calling a student employee at the Welcome Center. There are currently 8 students that really work in that department between undergrad, grad, and then there are some GA positions that are funded through the student fee. Recently, we underwent a beautiful makeover in that space and various other places around campus. However, that was not funded by campus fees. So just a little heads up that we've undergone some beautification, but that was from a different budget. As I talk in this next part and really address some of the questions you had, kind of take a peek at some of the different resources and allocations that our students have access to on the campus, as well as virtual options that our students have available to them for some of our online programs. So one of the questions you had is, how does the hiring freeze affect student services and us with the campus fees? Well, thankfully, we are fortunate enough not to be affected too much from that hiring freeze, and we were able to get through the student positions that we needed to continue to support our students. How do students give feedback? Because I kind of want to point to the student club section right here, that student advisory council. So student advisory council is made up of students that choose to want to be a part of kind of student governance on the Edwards campus in a slightly different way than what you have here. So the president of the Student Advisory Council, he is really the liaison for the student voice to administration, student services, every different area at the Edwards campus. So Jared, that's his name, he's on 2 different committees. He's on Undergraduate Education and Policy Committee, as well as the SPS Academic Council. So what those are is the Undergraduate Education and Policy Committee is really his way to affect what the undergraduate students experience and the policies that affect them. Additionally, the SPS Academic Council is made up of undergraduate and graduate, and so he is a voice for all students in that area. One thing that Jared does in his position as a Student Advisory Council president is he has created various areas that students can submit feedback or event requests or different things that they'd like on campus. So when he holds an event for Student Advisory Council, those surveys are available for our students. Additionally, they are in our What's the Tea student newsletter. So those go out monthly to our students. And so there's ways for students to give feedback. And when they email their feedback, it goes directly to the Welcome Center front desk. So it is students really advocating to students on what they want. And then that team and Jared helps bring those requests forward to administration or student services. And then additionally, a lot of our campus events held on campus are geared and kind of requested by the student staff on campus or students that just come up and say, hey, can we have this? So a great example is we had a student come up and ask for a karaoke night last semester, and we had a karaoke night, and they had a blast. The music choices were fun, but it was a fun night requested by students, and they got it really quickly after they requested it. So the next question that you asked is, what would be affected if the fee was changed? Everything you see up there would pretty much be affected. That means student employment, that means student services, student access. So our campus is already kind of very much separated physically, right, from the Lawrence campus. So some of those departments come out at times to help our students. But if we didn't have the fee funding, our students would not only lose some of that college experience, but it would also be detrimental to their education and their experience that they have at KU as a whole. So additionally, when I think through some of the things you might see on here for the campus events, a lot of those are things that students request. So for example, you might see things like career events, TEDx, and SciFlix. Our students use SciFlix as a chance to do family fun nights on movies that fit their family or even date nights. Additionally, student services held their own SciFlix night in August last year for the common book. So if you've seen The Fault in Our Stars, student services had our very own version to try to connect to the common book here, but also make a night that students can bring their family and their loved ones. This is a great way for them also to connect further to staff and learn about different things
different topics. So for example, that Rise of the Planet of the Apes, if you're free the 13th, the CEO of the zoo is going to be there and he's giving out tickets for the zoo. So it's kind of a fun way that you can get involved, but also things our students can win and enjoy. Yes, it's open to everybody. And then, so in summary, our Edwards campus fee is $11 per student credit hour. So it's estimating around $500,000 in revenue. We are not requesting an increase. This fee has been restructured to help with student employment and support services that the Edwards students have access to. And as we continue to use these fees, we will continue to engage students across various campuses and in that one KU mission, and continue to provide further support and co-curricular activities for our students. Thank you.
What questions do we have?
You just did such a good job.
Hey, I'll take it.
Okay. I will ask a question really quick. So just to clarify, with the $11 per student credit hour, is that for students enrolled at the Edwards campus, all students? How does that work with kind of it being combined in past years?
Oh, yeah. Just kind of give the history, because I do know this is on. I really.
Can you? Yeah, they can see that.
Okay, can you hear me? I'm also a loud talker if I need to be. So just some background. This is our first year on the combined required campus fee. So this is our first year. We restructured the budget. The way that it used to work, a committee was formed as we were looking forward in the future to having one KU, where we found that we have students paying fees at all campuses. So if you're taking a class at the Edwards campus, you were paying a fee. If you were taking a class at the Lawrence campus as well, you're paying a fee in addition to the one you paid at the Edwards campus. Same thing for the Med Center. So there was a committee that was brought together to try to find a way to merge the fees so that students were paying fees at both campuses. This had been attempted in the past, and there was never a way to make it. No one ever came up with a solution. So this task force really put their head together to come up with a way to make it less expensive and easier for students when paying their fees. And so what Edwards campus did is a good partner. Edwards campus used to get $82 per student credit hour, which capped at 12 hours, which was $984. So if you took 12 credit hours at Edwards campus, you were paying $984, and then, or whatever that, yeah. And then if you also took a class or two on the Lawrence campus, you paid the regular campus fee structure as well. And believe it or not, we had quite a few students that it was double. The fees were being basically doubled on them. And so our prior fee generated about $1.1 million in revenue. And we are now down to $500,000 with this new structure. And so it did take some realignment of the fees, which we were able to get accomplished. But we were able to do this within our financial structure, a little help from the provost office, and make it work so that, again, it's easier. And built into the fee structure, and there's only one required campus fee. Doesn't matter where you're taking your classes at. You're not being double dipped. Let's see. So, and I think we talked about everything else. So basically, every student that pays fees, doesn't matter which campus you're going to, $11 of those go to the Edwards campus. Does that help at all? Okay.
Do we have any other questions? Okay. Seeing no questions, thank you so much.
I can help take the chairs back. You got it. Really, I said you were so easy on us. I mean, I had a meeting for you guys really asked hard questions, and I was expecting it.
I'm a little surprised.
If you have any questions, feel free to follow up. Casey and Jennifer, you know how to get hold of us, so thank you.
Very straightforward.
Good.
David and I funds, but I couldn't access the survey results. I wanted to give those to everything. Oh, yeah. What did you want?
Like, oh,
Okay, let me make it public. Robert, it's because I made it open to anyone at the link. So like maybe I shouldn't have that bad anymore.
My boyfriend was just suggesting, and they are starting foundations in the comments. So I was like, that's just put in the folder.
No, there were some good ones. I didn't see that one. I did see the Robert Epler deserves a raise. I don't know who said that.
That was me.
Was that actually?
No. You do deserve a raise.
I can't find out who said that. It was really funny. I printed it out. It was on the wall.
Wait, and what, where did they say it?
With like the extra comment and then
I wonder if that was, that's so funny. I should have filled out the fee survey, but I don't pay it. I don't pay it. I never have and never will.
Okay, y'all, our next hearing is going to be recycling at 4:15.
Shut up, recycling. Wait, Sean, isn't that your big thing? Wait, who's the chair of SHAS?
Everyone's attention, you can start.
We'll see about that.
Hi. Hi, everybody. So my name is Cameron Lauer. I'm the Director of Custodial and Recycling at the University of Kansas. I'm here to talk to you about the student fees for the recycling program. Want to start out with one kind of a just a statement of appreciation for the Student Senate Advisory Board, which I see at least a couple of, that not only in the recommendation that you sent in the letter to sustain or increase funding for recycling and transportation, but just with your overall involvement, you guys' passion that you bring to those meetings, it just has been incredibly encouraging for me, who is kind of marinating in this stuff every day, to get some valid and passionate response back from people has been great. But I also really appreciate the time and the care that you all put into, or that everybody puts into reviewing these student fees. I value the chance to explain how these fees directly support a service that affects our campus every single day in recycling. But I do want to point out that the recycling at KU is not symbolic. It's not a pilot program or a side initiative. It is a very lean, fully operational, campus-wide service that functions across academic buildings, dining facilities, athletic spaces, and outdoor areas. It requires people, equipment, planning consistently. It is infrastructure, not messaging. I also want to explain what the program does, why it matters, and why maintaining the current level of student fee support is essential if we're going to continue to provide the level of service that the people who work, learn, and live on campus expect, while keeping significant amounts of recyclable material out of landfills. Speaking of, each month, the recycling program at KU diverts 18 tons of recyclable material away from landfills. That is an average number, so it is higher than that during during school, when school's in session, and it lowers during the summer, but on average, it's 18 tons per month. That material includes paper, cardboard, plastics, metals, and mixed recyclables generated by students, faculty, and staff, and visitors. 18 tons may sound like just a statistic, but in practice, it represents thousands of collections across campus, hundreds of hours of staff labor, and a measurable reduction in the university's environmental impact. That amount does not include the many ways that the recycling and custodial department impacts sustainability in everyday practices, though. Incorporating biodegradable trash bags and gloves, adding soap containers that are completely recyclable, sustainable chemical cleaning products and processes, and reusable bottles in that system, and the ability to generate our own biodegradable and non-toxic disinfectant in-house, keep countless plastic containers and products out of the landfill by limiting the plastic used on campus by the custodial and recycling program. Speaking of the custodial staff, I want to really explain how we have incorporated the recycling program into the custodial process. It is a team lift. It's something that, with as many buildings that we have on campus, the recycling technicians really just go building to building and pick up material. That it is the custodial staff assigned to academic buildings that do the critical role of collecting the material and putting it in the pickup location at each building. So that's, from interior recycling bins throughout buildings, including offices, classrooms, common areas, and restrooms. The amount of time it takes the custodians to do this, on average, there are times where it takes more than this. I'm sure there are situations where it takes less. But it's about an hour to 2 hours a day of the custodial staff's responsibilities, which equates to $468,000 per year in custodial time spent on recycling responsibilities in academic buildings. Once collected, material is consolidated and transported by custodial staff to designated exterior recycling pickup locations. And from there, the technicians complete the removal process, or the removal and processing of the material on West Campus. This is a coordinated process, ensures consistent service inside the buildings, and it helps to prevent contamination, overflow, and allows the recycling program to operate efficiently across campus. It also limits their ability or the need to have our limited recycling tech staff enter buildings. It's something that the pickup schedule and the routes are very, very lean, and they have to be revisited every time. So limiting their experience in buildings is important. But a lot of this work happens quietly and it easily blends into the background of campus life, but consistency is the most important part. Due to state funding reductions impacting campus operations, the recycling program experienced the non-reappointment of the recycling manager position. So in order to maintain continuity of service and protect the integrity of the recycling process, recycling staff were integrated into the custodial org chart. This transition required significant operational adaptation, but it also created opportunities to strengthen the coordination between custodial and recycling teams. The communication is improved, collection routes have been streamlined, and supply ordering process have become more efficient. While these changes have produced positive outcomes because of the creativity of the recycling and custodial staff, they also represent an ongoing adjustment that requires stability and support to sustain. Student fees are what make consistency possible. It makes that reliability possible. Those fees directly support the staff who collect and transport recyclable material. They support the equipment required to do the job safely and efficiently, and they support maintenance, repairs, and replacement of aging infrastructure. Most importantly, they support reliability. Recycling is not a free service and requires more labor and coordination than landfill disposal. Materials must be separated, contamination must be managed, and collections must occur frequently enough to prevent overflow and misuse. When funding is reduced, recycling is often the first service to suffer because it has less margin for error. If student fees were reduced, the impact would be immediate. Collection frequency would decrease. Some locations would lose access to recycling altogether. Contamination would increase, which means recyclable material would be rejected and sent to landfills anyway, which goes against the entire point of what we do this. The amount of material diverted from landfills would obviously decline. These are not hypothetical outcomes. These are operational realities of waste management. The University of Kansas is committed to sustainability and environmental stewardship. Recycling is one of the most visible and measurable ways that these commitments are put into action. Diverting tons of material per month from landfills reduces emissions, conserves resources, and aligns KU with peer institutions across the country. Those outcomes only happen when the program is adequately supported. I do also want to speak directly about accountability. Students deserve to know what their fees are being used, or that their fees are being used responsibly. Our team continually and has recently had to reevaluate routes, schedules, equipment life cycles, staff models, and vendor contracts to ensure that we are operating as efficiently as possible. This is not an inflated program. It is a lean operation designed to deliver consistent results with limited resources. Cutting fees would not eliminate inefficiency, it would eliminate capacity. Students consistently express, both in my conversations with the counselor I talked about before, and individual conversations with students, that sustainability matters to them. Recycling is one of the few sustainability services that involve every student, operates every day, and produces measurable results. The current student fee structure reflects that value and ensures that recycling maintains a dependable service rather than a fluctuating initiative. As you consider your decision, I ask you to view it not as a line item, but as a commitment. Maintaining the current student fees allows the University of Kansas to continue diverting tons of material from landfills each year to provide consistent campus-wide service and uphold the environmental values that students and the institution share. I really appreciate your time. The fun part for me in these processes is answering questions, so I hope that there are a few. But I do appreciate your, like I said, your time, your attention, and your commitment to the University of Kansas. I know that this is not an easy job that you all have. And when the pie of money is only so big, that it is a very big decision for you guys to collectively make. And I do not take that lightly. And I really appreciate you guys' commitment to the university in general. Again, happy to answer any questions you have. That is the general gist of the presentation I have, but like I said, I enjoy the question aspect of it.
What questions do we have? Let's start with Esperanza.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm also a member of the Sustainability Committee, and you recently mentioned during the meeting last week that you're going to visit K-State to check their quality control and recycling. Do you have any intention for next year to have an increase on the student fee to match the level of quality and recycling that K-State has?
So it is something that to match what they do that very well. They process a lot of recyclable materials on campus, which is utilized in their engineering department. They have taken steps in the past and committed to that part of the process to where I think catching up to them would be unsustainable or not realistic in a year. But it is absolutely something that going over there, talking to them, seeing what their process is, and seeing how we can improve ours both incrementally and exponentially in the future would be a goal. If it was deemed necessary to increase the student fee that goes to recycling, we would expedite those processes. But as it currently sits, it's not something that we can take a lot of steps in that direction. That we do have some work to do with, like I said in the speech I just made, the infrastructure that we have. We haven't replaced bins. Another thing that is going to be old news to you, because I talked about it in that meeting, that we're dealing with 20-year-old recycling bins, and a lot of the thing, and we've taken steps to increase and really kind of simplify what the bins are inside. That single stream is blue, cardboard is red. Which has been helpful for contamination. Our contamination rates have gone way down, especially with the cardboard part. And just a little bit more information about the cardboard part, that is the only aspect of the recycling we actually make money on, that we get money back from the recycling part. So making that better has absolutely increased the value of the program in general. But really where we need to pay attention to next, beyond what we can learn from K-State and to improve the overall scope of what the program does, is to really evaluate what the building need is per building and for pickup locations. For instance, some of those 20-year-old bins are about the size, I know I'm on line 2, but they're enormous. They require 2 people to load and unload into the box trucks that we use to kind of play Tetris around campus with empty and full bins. And so from a safety perspective, we would like to get those to where that's accomplishable by 1 person, but also just make decisions on the bins that are utilized in the recycling program, especially with the pickup process, that meet the needs of the building and aren't just kind of shoehorned in with what we have available for the last couple of decades.
What other questions do we have? Okay, Robert.
Hi, Robert, Community Affairs Rep. What is your contamination rate?
So it depends on building to building. It varies day to day, if I'm being honest. The story that I think I've told in other aspects is that we've had people try and recycle a rotisserie chicken, and where it contaminates the entire thing. And all that does, like I said before, it just adds more steps to things going into the landfill. And so doing an internal audit that right now, and whether that is the signage that is up on campus, the student appetite, which I think has increased to educate themselves on what the process is. But the contamination rate has gotten better since the last time we did an internal audit, but it was about 30% of it is contaminated material that we just have to throw away anyway.
Thank you for your presentation. Sean Lawson, Vice Chair of Finance. I know last year you mentioned that working with housing to do recycling at their facilities wasn't really a conversation that was happening at the moment. Have there been any conversations this past year on that, or would that be a possibility going forward?
So they've been reasonably one-sided. It's something that I've definitely brought up to the leadership over in housing operations, but they have not expressed any kind of appetite to redo that service to the housing buildings.
Thank you for your answer.
Sorry.
What other questions? Robert.
And then, how are you guys impacted at all by like the efficiencies of Lawrence as a city and their waste program, or is that just
no? We run independently of the Lawrence process. Our recycling program goes through HAM, And so we don't rely on the city of Lawrence for any of those services or any of our processes that we pick up. They do the landfill trash on campus, and it is my staff that navigates that schedule, and it gets reduced during the summertime to make sure that we're being efficient with our money when there's nobody on campus and there's less stuff getting thrown away. But they're not involved in the recycling program at this time.
Thank you.
What other questions? If we don't have any questions, I was curious about how we compare recycling-wise to peer institutions. You already kind of mentioned K-State, but
yeah, it kind of depends on what we're talking about. We are reasonably, I hesitate to say behind, but it's something that we've had funding issues in the past, and it's something that we've kind of had to play catch up in a lot of different areas. The infrastructure aspects is where we are running behind on those. I think that as a whole, we are reasonably equal to our peer institutions around at least the Midwest. But where we are behind on that stuff is, like I was talking about before in the previous question, is the infrastructure and the bins and the ease of pickup that we have within the process.
Mia?
Hi, my name's Mia. Thank you for your presentation. I was just curious, considering the fact that you run a very lean operation and there's a lot of room for growth, hopefully within the campus in terms of recycling, why are you asking for a flat fee this year rather than a potential increase?
A lot of that has to do with where we're at and where we're funded to is that we are working on currently to replace some of those infrastructure items I was talking about before. And I do think that there is some conversations to have about where exactly both the student population want to go with the direction and where they want to focus those things, what is accomplishable with the staff that we currently have, and what things we have to do to move forward with all of that stuff. But you spoke about the lean aspect of what the department does. And matter of factly, other than, and I spoke about it, the custodial aspect that is inside the buildings, it is a crew of 3 people with 3 box trucks, and that go around and have a very strict pickup schedule throughout campus. And so there would need to be, we're very close to capacity with the staff that we currently have. And so any moves forward would take a reinvestment in the staffing that we have in that department, in that side of the department.
What other questions? Frederick?
Thank you for your presentation. With the current funding, is the department able to achieve the 90-day reserve that's required?
Say the 90-day what?
90-day reserve amount of money within your finances. Do you
Yes.
break even?
Where we currently are, yes. And like I said, with the lean organization that we have now, the goal, that's why we have to be very careful with what our goals are going forward, because we are on a pretty tight financial budget to where we need to make sure that the value is added if we add any kind of services to the program, because we don't have a lot of leeway as far as what we can add and what we can do with when I talk about like not having a decrease and keeping it a stagnant fee, it speaks to, I do think we need to be very, very mindful about what steps we move forward with and what we can provide the most value to campus with. That I can bring up composting, for instance, that is a very involved process, and it is one that is expensive to pick up. It is a program in and of itself. And so after reading the Green New Deal that the committee put out, that there is a lot of very good ideas in that document. Some of them I think are more expensive than what I think is just the normal person reading that document would assume. And I bring up composting because that is a very good example of something that can get away from us fast, and why we need to be careful of how we add services to this program.
Did we have another question back there? Okay. Do we have any more questions? If not, I have a quick question. Are students involved in your program in any other way besides like the Sustainability Advisory Board, potentially through like an outreach capacity, anything like that?
No, they're not. We, at one point in the history of the recycling program, they did have student workers. We staffing to a certain point got to be an issue, and we have transitioned to a full-time 3 recycling technician strategy.
Do we have any other questions for Robert?
I was wondering, I know that like athletics has their own pays for their recycling and housing separate and stuff, but what percentage of like your budget is made up of through fee funds?
So everything but we have $140,000 come from O99 funds from the state, which is part of what was I spoke about when I was talking before about the cuts that involved all of operations. All of operations had a $3.1 million cut that affected custodial by 5 positions, and then we lost the recycling manager in recycling. And so, like I said, to try and keep it as lean as possible, and I spoke about it when I was speaking before, but there have been benefits to that process about getting more efficient and kind of being forced to get better at the communication side. That I understand it is 3 people that are technicians, but the leadership member that they report to now within the custodial org chart, communicating with individual buildings, whether it's building users or the operation staff within those buildings, is become exponentially more important and to how we operate this entire process.
Any other questions? Seeing no questions, thank you.
Thank you all. And just to say it, I know this is a big job, and I do not envy you guys making this decision about how this stuff money goes, but I wish you luck in the process.
We have got 5 minutes left until our final hearing for this year.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
yeah,
That's payback for when you did it to me, Nick.
I think so, yeah.
Like, I like it when people are really passionate about something, but like, I've never seen
The arrow keys are working. Okay. There you go.
Are you ready for us? Okay, great. Hi, I'm Joe Hardesty. I'm the Director and Managing Attorney at Legal Services for Students. And joining me today are?
Hi, everyone. My name is Isaiah Perez Nicholson, and I'm one of the tax interns within the office.
I'm Kevin Wycliffe, one of the staff attorneys.
And we are here to present the Legal Services for Students fee presentation. One of the things I want to point out to you right off the bat is that we are not asking for a fee increase. We are asking for no fee decrease. So that's what we're here for today. As some of you probably know, we were established by Student Senate in 1979. And I believe we are the only fee group that was actually created by Senate and fully funded by Senate since then for 47 years. So I think it's a great example of Senate's commitment to students and providing an option for their legal needs. Oh, I do also want to mention that the guy who started Legal Services for Students was student body president here, the Honorable Steve Leben, who he was on the Kansas Court of Appeals, and he is retired from that. He is currently a law professor at UMKC, one of our alums. Okay, mission and goals. Our mission, I will read to you because I think it's important, is to prevent and resolve legal problems that confront students by providing qualified, professional, and confidential legal counseling, representation, and education. I will let you guys read the goals, but part of our goals are to keep students in school, retention, and support student success. So when students have a legal need, oftentimes they can't concentrate on their school. That's what they're here for. So they come to us, we help them, and that allows them, takes off the pressure, allows them to focus on their studies.
Yeah, and I also want to add to that is sometimes we are the only option that some of the students have for financial reasons or some matter of what type of matter they have. They may not find any other.
Yes. So, who we are. We are real attorneys for real issues. I think a lot of times people think legal services for students means it's just like students running the program. It's actually 3 attorneys, 1 administrative staff, and currently we have 8 interns, but we usually have up to 10. We charge no additional fee for services. So what the student pays, which is $19.75 a semester, what they pay gets them access to our office for an unlimited number of times and unlimited issues. Not like some legal services programs across the country where they say their clients can only use them once a semester, something like that. And we do stress that our office is 100%, like any other law firm, completely confidential. So students can come to us and tell us anything. It stays within the confines of our office.
Yeah, and among our attorneys collectively, we just added it up. We have 100 years of experience together. And it's just not all in like legal services. We come from different backgrounds. Adam's very good in tax and immigration. And I spent most of my practice in corporate law and securities regulations. And so you get some unique opportunities to meet unique attorneys.
Yes, our administrative staff person is also going to school and getting her paralegal degree.
For our office, we do offer two types of internship programs. The first one is our legal internship, which is typically taken by a student who attends KU Law. And the other one is our tax internship, which I am a part of. For this internship, it has provided me a lot of, I would say, professional development and experiences. I have been tax certified since I was 16. I've been doing taxes since I was in high school. And then coming into this program, I was prepared with those skills. But given the larger pool of students that we work with, it has taught me a lot more than I initially came in with. In addition to that, it also offers me opportunities for like public speaking, tabling. I even help out with our social media as well. So I'm touching other aspects that helps me build my resume and become marketable for possibly other internship experiences or other professional experiences as well. And then also our internship program does fulfill the business school and law school tax certificate requirement. So for any students who struggle like finding an internship throughout the school year to fulfill those requirements, since our office is located on campus, it makes it a lot more accessible to meet those requirements as well.
Great. And we've had hundreds of interns over the years that are alums of our office. And the great thing about the internship program is it really benefits the intern, but it also benefits our office tremendously because it allows us to help more KU students. So it's truly students who are helping other students. As far as what we do, okay, we do criminal, tenant rights, taxes, immigration, consumer and financial, student groups, name change and gender marker change, and a variety of other issues.
Yeah, I believe that our services are really unique, even among different colleges that offer student legal services. Like, for example, one of them is immigration. We may have one of the best immigration practices in the area especially that deal with student issues. Because like in big cities, they're not going to take the time to deal with those unique situations. For taxes, tax returns are different for students. For international students, it's a completely different form. They can't just go to H&R Block. And also, we found we've been successful with just resident students, helping them get the maximum they can for the education credits. We also work with athletes to help them with their unique situations. But she said the name changes, and I've been doing a lot of work with student organizations with the goal of, one, helping them to become more self-sufficient, helping support like fundraising efforts and find new fundraising efforts structure. One of the examples is that the new vendor for the stadiums that will have groups come in require them to be 501c3s. So they'd have to spend a lot of money to go out to the public to get that done. And we do that and also negotiate with the vendors. And those are some of the types of things that we do that aren't what you would think of just going to court and tickets and so forth.
So this is our 2025 caseload by the different practice areas. You can see the biggest ones are tax, landlord tenant, and the other one is debt, financial. It's kind of encompasses a lot of different types of cases. You can see one thing I want to point out is we had an 86% increase in the number of debt and financial related issues over 2024. That's the kind of thing that puts the pressure on students. And as you can see from the slide, in 2024, there was a survey that said that kind of financial pressure tends to be a reason that students drop out of college. So the number of students served. In 2024, we served 3,575 students, and you can see the breakdown there. In 2025, we served 3,299 students. That number is slightly lower in 25 because we had a reduced staff. And that reduced staff caused reduced case numbers, and also our tax workshop started later last year because we couldn't get the reservation for the room, but we still were able to see a tremendous number of people.
Yeah, the students served, that only counts the people that either came to our workshops or actually come to our office. there's really much, that doesn't count the people that come to our presentations or people that we serve in other ways. For example, Jill will do an international presentation about not how to buy a car. And so people take that advice, and so they've benefited from our service. Some of the stuff we do is global. Like we had an issue with one of the vendors withholding taxes. So that helps everyone that's in that situation. Similar situation with athletics. They were withholding Social Security and welfare, Social Security and just basically the FICA insurance for international athletes, which they're not supposed to do. We contacted them, they changed it. So not only does that help the athletes, now it will help them in the future. I really think that, ask how many people we serve. I think it's every student because you have the ability to have services. It's like a prepaid legal plan. So you get benefit just by having that available to you.
The other thing I was going to mention is this past fall, we saw more international students than we have seen in fall before. And KU has fewer international students than they have in the past. So I think that is a reflection. They're coming to us not just for immigration cases, but for many other issues, probably due to the current political climate. Notary service has gone up from 24, it just went up 2%, but you can see it's gone up since 2016, it's gone up 120%. So 709 people, and those are people that are walking into our office getting face-to-face service.
Yeah, a lot of the notary services, it's really increased the study abroad. We see a lot more of them. And we're able to accommodate them immediately, some of them at the very last minute. And it's probably not real easy to find a notary in Lawrence. And also we have big increase with ballots. People that are out of state sometimes have to have their ballots notarized. We think we might see that again in 2026 with midterm elections coming up in November.
Okay. So you want to know how much financial benefit our office provides. This was a number that does actually not include everything, but $2.8 million is a lot of money. I really believe that students at the University of Kansas are getting a lot of bang for their buck. Like I said, you pay $19.75 a semester if you're a full-time student, less if you're not a full-time student. But the financial benefit, this includes a wide variety of things, whether it's I'm being sued for $5,000 and we're able to help that reduce that to zero. Maybe it's a matter of a student who didn't get their security deposit refund back, and we're able to help them get that back. It also includes some of our tax refunds.
And I think that number's low. That's only the stuff that we can quantify. Again, it doesn't count the stuff that's kind of global that helps everyone. It also doesn't count situations like we're helping student orgs to become more self-reliant, because we might see the president or vice president who are counted as our clients, but it affects the whole group. For example, we help them to raise funds, like even if it's just to get a W-9 so that they can do the Chipotle fundraising stuff. So there's many other things that we do that saves money that we just can't put finite numbers on.
Keep in mind, $19.75 would get you in Lawrence, using the average that Lawrence attorneys charge, would get you a 5-minute consultation with an attorney.
And I looked it up before we came in. If you worked for a company that had prepaid legal, it would cost you between $20 and $60 per month, which is $240 to $700 annually. And you're getting that for $19 a year.
Our budget breakdown. So as I said, that we've been fully funded by Student Senate since 1979, but we are constantly looking for other funding to supplement that. We have had a grant from the IRS for, I don't know, maybe 20 years. And that grant is small. As you can see, I put it up on the pie chart. It's 4% of our budget, but every little bit helps. So that goes to fund part of the tax preparation service program that we do. That's how I can hire interns. That's how we can buy the specialized software that we need. One thing about the grant, it says VITA, that stands for Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. That means we're focused on helping low-income taxpayers, which pretty much all University of Kansas students qualify as low-income in the IRS eyes. That grant program is not guaranteed, especially now. The IRS budget has been cut, and we're just not sure if the new grant is going to be renewed or if they're even going to have that grant program again. So I just wanted to point that out. The other thing is Student Senate realizes, you know, we were kind of in a financial hole, as Student Senate was, as everybody was told to spend down your reserve, and, you know, we didn't have the fees coming in. Our fees had been reduced until this last year. But I did just want to point out that our FY25 year-end balance of revenue and expenses ended up with a $31,000 shortfall. Of course, we did have some surplus that helped cover that. Presentations and workshops. So this is just another way that we reach students besides direct service where they're coming in to our office getting assistance. The presentations, we're at an educational institution, so our role, we feel, is to educate students to prevent legal problems and then give them the tools so that when a legal issue arises, they can easily jump in or feel more confident working on the problem themselves. And they know to come to us if they need it. We mentioned the tax workshops. I wanted to put in a little tiny plug for that. We're going to be starting those here in a couple weeks. And those workshops last year, 1,183 students came in to little 413 Summerfield Hall in a little room with 30 seats. So they're coming to see us to get help. 4,282 actual returns were filed, and that resulted in more than 1.4 million in tax refunds for our campus. That 1.4 million doesn't include state income tax refunds because our reporting software doesn't capture that. It only captures the federal refunds.
Then also with the presentations and workshops, we'd encourage you, if you're working with groups or even academically, if you can suggest something you might want to learn about. I've actually done one with a group of engineers. Contact us. I can't promise that we will always be able to do a presentation, but we'll at least consider it and accommodate it if we can.
Okay, we talked a little bit about the rate for private attorneys in Lawrence. I have to pick my glasses off. 172 to 505, and the average is 311 per hour. That's how I got that 5 minutes number. I didn't do the math, by the way. But to make a point, our office is a very high volume law office. We see many more cases than most private attorneys do. It says there are 250 cases per attorney per year, and I think Kevin can attest that's not a small number. That keeps us busy all the time. Also, I think some people don't realize some cases last a long time. It's not just I come in, I see them, they fix it, I leave. There's a lot of hours that go into working on each case.
Yeah, I think I mentioned earlier that some of the cases that can fall through the cracks for students, we're able to step in on some of those. An example is you may have damages if something happened to your car or to you, that are $15,000. Okay, so if you go to a private attorney, I mean, they bill their clients, that's how they eat, that's their living. And it's not economically viable to take those cases because it may cost them $25,000 to get $15,000 back for you. And in not all instances, but some of those instances we can help those students navigate the system, and we've been successful in recovery sometimes.
So one of the questions that we received during the fee presentation process was, what would be the consequences if our fee was reduced? And, you know, I think it's fairly obvious. Decreased revenue means we would probably have to cut something. Our office helps students. Our main portion of our budget goes to salaries, to student hourly salaries, and to fringe, like Social Security, Medicare tax, unemployment taxes, health insurance. So that is the largest part of our budget. Reducing that number reduces our budget, and what that does is it directly reduces the number of staff that we can have to help students. So we definitely don't want to reduce our internship program or our tax workshops. We don't want to reduce anything. In fact, what it would do, we also don't want to, I don't want to do this. I don't want to start having to charge students for service, because that just is an added burden on students if they have to do that. So some legal services offices that I mentioned across the country do have appointment caps where you can only see the attorneys like once a semester, and you know, it would cause an increased wait time.
In situations like that, it could also increase even the stuff that we do to decrease the services we might provide. For example, I've had a couple of auto-quiet titles. It may take 6-9 months to do, but if we didn't have the staff in that assist with other things, I had to move on to other. We just give them the forms and tell them this is where you go, this is how you do it. But it's nice to have the hands-on high touch with the students, and that's something that we want to maintain.
One more point about the budget is, you know, the consequences to decreased revenue. And as I mentioned before, we're asking for our fee to stay flat, you know, but I know that sometimes when you're deliberating, you might have 10 cents or 25 cents left over. You're trying to figure out where to put it. Okay, we'd be more than happy to have that come to our office. More money means more services, more outreach. We can always do more for our students. So like I said, if you see an extra 10 cents, don't feel like, oh, they don't need it. We can definitely use it. One of the questions you also asked was about the impact of the KU hiring freeze. That did impact our office because we had an attorney retire in July, and we weren't able to hire him right away because KU did have the hiring freeze. What that caused, as you can imagine, one less attorney means we are unable to see as many clients. I, as director, have administrative duties, but I also see clients. So what I did was start picking up more and more clients of my own, and some of those administrative duties might have sat on the back burner for a minute. But anyway, the other thing I think it's important to say is, you know, we don't set the salaries. The University of Kansas HR sets the salaries. So sometimes we might have difficulty attracting applicants due to what the salaries are at the University of Kansas compared to the private sector. And we have seen that impact our office this year. Student feedback was another question that you guys had. So if you come to one of our tax workshops, somebody will greet you at the door and also greet you as you're leaving, and they will say, hey, there's a QR code here, please take the survey. It's only 5 questions, and they can click on it, and then there's also a place where they can write little note to us. If they want, we look at those feedback forms, those surveys. We're assessing our work and how we can improve. One of the things that we did to improve was we used to just have the workshops where it was come and go as you want, but we found out that a lot of people procrastinate and put off like their taxes till the last minute. So we'd have students lined up out the door down the hallway, and nobody likes that. Everybody gets cranky. So what we did was we purchased, and it's just for a rent, like a license for 3 months, that we can get scheduling software where the students can register, and that way we know exactly how many people are going to be at each workshop. They register, and it's caused so much less headache. So it makes things much more smoothly. And that was partly from feedback of clients saying, I don't like to have to wait, and it's worked out really well. You can see we also obviously get comments through our social media and Google and Yelp. We always look at that, and then we discuss it. Also, our advisory board meets regularly to discuss LSS policies and practices, and our board members are encouraged to comment, give us suggestions.
And the text workshops are one of the few areas that we practice where we can actually solicit type of feedback due to the confidential nature of what we do. A lot of people don't want to get feedback, or some do, some don't, and we're not going to ask them. That's not what we do. But sometimes the best testimonials that we get is we help somebody with something we never hear from them again. So that means everything went well.
So we won't read the student testimonials, but you have access to read them, and some of them are really nice. So please take the time to glance through them. One of the things I was looking at before we came over here was the University of Kansas Student Senate, I believe, has really gone above and beyond compared to other universities and colleges in Kansas. There's only one other university, and that's K-State, that has one attorney to help, no interns. And they, like, for example, they have a very limited practice area. They don't do tax, they don't do immigration. They mostly focus on criminal and divorce. So I just want to put that out there. The other universities, Fort Hays, Pittsburgh State, Emporia, they don't have any legal program at all. So I think it's really great that what you guys do funds to help student needs. I think that's it.
We've got time for some questions here. Start with Henry.
Thank you so much for your presentation. My question is about if there's like too many cases that you guys have each year, how many are you having to like decline or not accept? Things of that nature, not because of like the nature of the case, purely because of workload.
Yeah, well, we don't turn anybody away.
Okay.
So I'll give you an example. Today, we were completely booked up, and a student walked in with an emergency. We fit them in, saw them, and were able to assist. So we make it work. We don't have, there might be in really busy time, you might have to wait a week, but we also, in the law office, you have to prioritize. If you have a court date tomorrow, which we don't encourage people to wait till the last minute, but we're going to help you then, versus somebody who has a question that's like, doesn't have a timely nature. So we're able to shuffle it around that way. So we don't turn people away.
Okay. Hi, Tanya Singh. I was there this morning. I would like to ask, so I know Bill retired. I miss him dearly. And you stated you were going to hire another litigation expert, and we're we're considering pursuing more litigation with the hiring of a new attorney. Can you describe more so what that looks like?
Sure. So we have an attorney who will be starting with us, probably not till April. And that person's experience is directly related to landlord-tenant cases, which is the largest area of litigation that we see. So I think I mentioned in the slide, or I didn't mention, but the slide said, eviction cases are probably one of the biggest things. Students have financial need. So we're working with those students. This person directly works right now with landlord-tenant cases in Kansas City, Missouri. So, and they're licensed to practice in both Kansas and Missouri. So.
And he will go to court. That's
Yeah.
the idea.
So we are at the end of our time here, but as this is our last presentation, we will keep going with just a few more questions because it'd be better to get them out here than during deliberations. But if you have somewhere you really need to run to, that's all right. Let's keep going with questions in the meantime. Owunmi.
Hi, yeah, thank you so much for your presentation. I would like to ask the miscellaneous legal issues. What does that entail? Because I was really looking forward to hearing cases like maybe divorce, just like you said, that K-State looks into that. And do you do court representations also? I didn't hear anything about that.
So you're asking about the miscellaneous?
Yeah, the miscellaneous legal issues, what does
Right.
that entail? What
That
does that
just
look like?
covers everything else. So, for example, divorce, child custody issues. What's another one?
I'm trying to think the most unique I've had. Oh, I had a student who developed an app or something and had a due diligence request from a state to purchase that app. And that would fall under the miscellaneous.
Also, wills. So if a student wants to do, get a power of attorney, or get a will, a living will. I have a student right now, like checking out, setting up a trust. So it's just a variety of things that students come in for. It's kind of a general law practice. So, yeah.
So meaning that you do court representations too?
It's court presentations, that's limited.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, it's the court presentations are limited, but we hope to have for the landlord tenants because those are typically, they're going to come and go. We would not do like the domestic relations because some of those take a long time, a lot of resources, and then once you're in them, you have to you're signed up. I don't think we'd be able to give the student the services that they would need in those types of cases, but we do help to make sure that they're referred out so they do get the help they need.
Yeah, that is something that I really didn't talk about was referrals. If a student comes to us and they have a case against another student or a case that's, for example, they have invented something, they want to seek a patent that requires a specialized patent attorney who has taken the patent bar. So we'll always make sure to try to get the student hooked up with other services. So it's not just like a student's like, oh, we're not going to help you. You know, we'll try to connect them with other resources that can.
We will take like maybe 1-2 more questions, but just as an FYI, our final hearing tomorrow will start at 11 a.m. It'll be in the international room. It'll be student senate, then we'll break for lunch, and then we will start deliberations at 1, just in terms of our schedule. I think Frederick had a question on the back.
Thank you so much for the presentation. My question goes to the financial statement. There's a surplus of 250,000 for financial year 2025 and a projected one of 500,000. Is there any plans on how you're gonna spend that amount of money?
Yes, good question. So we have some excess that is projected because we haven't hired that attorney and they won't start until April. So that's part of it, is the attorney's salary. So we'll be using that. In addition, during our lean years, in the last few years, we've cut our subscription to our National Consumer Law Digital Library. We cut our subscriptions to the Kansas Statutes Annotated. We cut a lot of things like that. And it would be nice to bring our office back up to, like we said, pre-pandemic. If we had extra money, we used to have a half-time attorney also. So it would be great to bring the staff back to pre-pandemic where we have a full staff. So yeah, we can easily use that money.
We have time for maybe one more question. Has anyone had another question yet?
Yeah. My follow-up will be what will be the estimate of the financial balance with that all put into consideration?
I actually don't have that number for you, but I could get something for you.
Thank you.
I have a question. So I understand that there was a survey that was sent out, and I just got a copy of the survey earlier today, and one of the questions asks, which of the following campus resources have you used in the last year? And I noticed that legal services wasn't listed on that.
I think it is this year. I think last year it may not have been there. I'll check with you after to make sure.
Okay, well, Matea just sent me this like a couple hours ago.
I'll double check.
Okay, well, I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you for pointing that out, because there is a version of the survey that did not have that on there.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
All right.
Well, thank you then.
Thank you.
And really quickly for y'all, for the committee members, if this mic will cooperate. Actually, you know, screw the mic.
I'm just gonna add the last.
Goodbye and thank you.